Hello and welcome into season 2 of Celtics Tube, episode number 3. I'm Jackson Ajello. He's Dennis Ryley. And Den, we came in last week and things were honestly on fire for the early part of the season. It was like the little dog meme where he's just sitting down in the chair and everything around him is on fire. That's kind of what it felt like as far as early season chaos for the Celtics. But as we open up our big 3 topics for the day with topic number 1, the C's bounced back. The C's bounced back 2-1 in that last week. The only loss coming in heartbreaking buzzer-beating fashion by Luka Doncic, which is going to happen. That happens sometimes. Like the Celtics played fairly well in that game, and in general, looking at who they were going to play last week, going out and beating the Heat, who before the Celtics played them in that game were arguably the hottest team in the NBA.
Yep,
arguably.
The team's dirty.
I mean, before that was a win over the Magic that we talked about last week that, they had to have. But as 2 straight wins and a competitive game against the Magic after just an utter call out from Marcus Smart and what could have gone really negative, I think, honestly, the team did a good job of putting that to rest, at least for now.
Yeah, no, I think so, too. It was, I mean, like you said, last week was not a fun time to be a fan of this team with everything going so wacky, but they bounced back, just like you said. I didn't expect them to beat the Heat that bad, especially in Miami, beating them by 17, especially when they were 6-1 before the game. I think they're one of the best built teams for this season, especially in playoffs. They got a lot of solid defenders. A lot of guys who could pass, a lot of guys who could shoot. They got a lot of guys who could do everything. And Victor Oladipo is on that team too, which I remembered today. So like he'll be coming back at some point this season, which is crazy as well. But yeah, no, that was a solid team win. Like we didn't shoot the ball too well, but the fact that we played outstanding defense made them turn the ball over a ton. It led us to a big win. And
defense so far throughout the entire NBA has been kind of the mantra of the season because shooting numbers are down across the entire league.
Yeah,
that's just a fact. Scoring's down across the entire league. We talked about some of the reasons for that last week, be it the change in foul call rules, which we're both seemingly for the most part in favor of. Also, the new ball sponsorship, which doesn't get as much love as a potential reason. Obviously also early in the season, the scoring's always a little bit down, but the ball switch up could be a little bit.
Yeah. It's a low-key change. Yeah.
Little Spalding to Wilson switch up.
Yeah.
Which probably have been for a minute.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I think of a Wilson ball, I think of college basketball, the NCAA tournament, but now the NBA too. I mean, they got a monopoly going. But so there's a couple different reasons scoring's down, which lends itself to defensive teams. And look, the Celtics could be a very good defensive team. They have the roster to be able to make that happen. And if you do that this year, I think you're going to reap a lot more benefits than even in years past compared to a team like the Knicks last year burst through on defense, on working hard, grinding out possessions. And this year, I think those types of teams, if a team can really commit to that, is going to have a lot of success. I mean, the amount of scores the Celtics have had already held 2 different teams under 80 points. I mean, how many times did that happened all of last season?
Barely ever. Even in the past 5 years, never happens anymore.
That is an incredible rarity, and that has happened throughout the NBA at a much higher rate. And obviously the fouls are a part of that. But in the end, I think that could help the Celtics as they try and work back through some things. Marcus Smart stepping up. That's a big part of this team, and that's a big part of their DNA. And with that chemistry and eventually, the offense, they still got to figure out. They still got to move the ball a little bit better. Marcus Smart had some good points, but positive response so far. But despite the positive response comes with the negative, which is big 3 topic number 2. Celtics bounced back, win 2 games after the controversial Marcus Smart post-game antics. And then Jaylen Brown, hamstring injury, could miss weeks, as they put in air quotes, currently listed at 1 to 2 weeks. You never like when they just say weeks generally, though, and then people have to circle back to say 1 to 2 weeks, because at least I'm triggered as a general NBA fan as well, because when I hear weeks and then I think of an NBA player, I think of when we keep hearing about Zion coming back in like a week or so, and then it's like 2 months go by.
Yeah.
So you don't love to see that. But we're going to have to find out a little bit more about the other pieces of this team with Jaylen Brown out, and specifically one guy who hasn't been that dude this season. He has been in a brutal cold streak, only rivaled really by Dame Lillard.
Yeah, I would say 100%.
Normally, if Tatum was in the same conversation as Dame Lillard, we would be ecstatic. Normally,
Oh yeah, Dame. I mean, that dude is insane. But this year he's been cold, and I think it's like a little bit similar to what Tatum's going through. Could be the new ball, like you mentioned before, the foul rules, all that stuff, and he's been a little hobbled as well,
and maybe a little fatigue.
Yeah, a little
with
fatigue as
playing
well.
in the Olympics as well.
Yeah, true. Forget about that. But never ends for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown goes down on an injury that like kind of no one really knows when it happened. It just came out and just super confused. I know Kyle Lowry was forced out of the game with an ankle injury, and then they just mentioned Jaylen Brown being out as well, which came out of nowhere. But
it was just like an awkward more type.
Yeah, super awkward. Super. But yeah,
he's getting ruled out, and then he's in trade rumors like right around the same time.
Like a week, less than a week later. It's crazy. Yeah. No, Ben Simmons, those rumors coming back today. Who would have thought that was coming?
Those rumors are gross. If you're a Celtics fan, you should cry yourself to sleep at the thought that could happen.
Yeah.
Because if this Celtics team cannot shoot as is, what they don't need is a facilitator to pass to guys who then can't shoot when you take away one of the better shooters on the team. Yeah. It would make no sense. The spacing would be grotesque. The defense would be good. Yeah, the spacing on offense would be non-existent, and would be honestly probably even more ISO ball in the end. Because I mean, you'd just be relying on Tatum to just get hot, I guess. And he played well against. We knocked him so far today, but he did play well against the Magic.
Yeah. He had a great game against the Mavs as well. Like he was shooting.
That's what I meant to say. I meant to say the Mavs.
Oh yeah. They played. I mean, the team. We didn't deserve that loss in general, but Luka Magic, pretty normal. And last year he also made a deep three at the end of a game to beat us. But Brown's void is going to be a big one to fill. We're going to need some guys to step up that we haven't seen step up so far this year. I think one of the bigger names, or I guess smaller names, but a guy who's going to have to put in some good work and put in some good time is Aaron Nesmith, who hasn't seen much playing time so far this year, but the past couple of games he's played a little bit more. Played really, really solid, I would say, against the Heat when he came in, but didn't play as well against the Mavs. But guys like that, Romeo Langford was also out last game. He's another guy who'll probably put in a few more minutes with Jaylen out. But it'll be interesting to see what the rotations look like without Jaylen. Where that scoring goes to. Schroeder shot a lot more during the Mavs game, and I'm expecting that to stay up.
That'll definitely continue. He's definitely going to keep shooting more.
Yeah. And
I think you'll see some more Richardson 3-point opportunities as well.
Yep. Yeah, and Richardson's been solid. He's been solid. His defense, Richardson's defense, I will say, has been, I would say, pretty good. Even really so far to say really good. He's not that great of an offensive player, but he could be streaky. He can make a lot of threes in some games. But yeah, I hope Ben Simmons doesn't come to this team. Those rumors were not fun to see today, and there were some sports guy like debunked them. But who knows?
They don't seem to make a lot of sense as a rumor. Like the fit doesn't make sense really for the Celtics. I mean, for the Sixers at this point, a decent amount of deals makes sense. I think
anything
a borderline all-star caliber player like Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons, especially a player as young as Jaylen Brown who could still develop into a heck of a lot more, and he will likely be an all-star at some point in time. That would be a great haul. If I were a 76ers fan, I would love that trade.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. They already have to deal without Ben Simmons as is. Like, it's not like they don't need a 1-for-1 to go get a ball handler. That would be an amazing deal if they could pull that off. That would be a catastrophic decision by Brad Stevens as the manager of this team,
especially in his first year up there. That would turn all the fans against him.
The next game at the Garden would be interesting.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be. I don't even want to dream that.
Well, hopefully it'll just be a few weeks, and then Jaylen Brown will come back to this team as opposed to being shipped to Philly. And in that time frame, at least for now, in the next week before we have another show, the Celtics have 4 games, and the competition is solid. They have 2 games on the road in Cleveland in a back-to-back to end the week. And then they start it with the next game being Toronto, and then they play Milwaukee. So the Cleveland's been a surprise to start this season. They've been a pretty good team at 7-4. That's a great start for Cleveland. If you have, the over win total on the Cavs this season, you're probably feeling pretty great. But they'll be without Colin Sexton for a bit too. So we'll see how that balances out. Although it's really been Ricky Rubio who's been helping to carry that team.
Yeah.
Along with Mobley. In looking at that lineup of games there, at least it's not the most punishing. And honestly, the Bucks have not had a great start to the season. That's still, in my opinion, going to be a tough game to win. But the Raptors and then 2 games in Cleveland is doable without Jaylen Brown. I think. Yeah. I think 2-2 is something you're looking for here. Yeah. I think Toronto at home, very winnable game. Milwaukee at home, I would be remiss if I thought that the Celtics were going to win that game. And then Cleveland, 2 games on the road in Cleveland. I think it's hard to beat a team twice in a row. So I honestly just think either way, I think 1 of 1 for each team in that game, especially both squads being a little shorthanded. Celtics going to be extended minutes coming up. You're going to see at least 35 plus minutes, probably more like 38 minutes per game coming up in the amount of time Jaylen Brown's out for the combination of Tatum, obviously, Schroeder, and Marcus Smart. Those 2 are going to be on the court
100%.
a lot.
Yeah, they're going to get a lot of work.
The other guys, they kind of have to come in and out. Like Al Horford, if he were 27, would be one of those guys staying on 35 plus, but he just can't do that.
Yeah, he can't do it anymore. Yeah,
he could in a playoff scenario, but in the regular season, that's going to burn him out really fast.
Yeah, we don't. With the injury problems we've had over the past year or so, we don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, you don't want to test it at this point if you're a Celtics fan.
Definitely not.
Already Brown with bad luck.
Yeah, it's insane. Never
Celtics
ends.
are at least maybe potentially for now past any COVID scares. Again, knock on wood. So. Knock on wood. Like, you don't. Joel Embiid just got it. You don't want to. You can't rule it out fully, but
that's true.
Would like to be able to at least, but. Going forward for this team, in order to win some games, my final thought then is for this team to get over the hump, back over 500, currently sitting at 4-6. It's a simple one. Just got to make some shots. It's
simple enough, honestly.
The ball movement early in the season was non-existent. It's been a little better of late, but be that as it may, there just hasn't been a lot of great shooting. The Celtics haven't had a game this year with multiple players on the team make multiple 3-pointers. Yeah. That's just got to change. They need, and it's not like rocket science to tell where they need the shooting from. I mean, they have guys on the team who are brought there and can be streaky shooters. You mentioned Richardson. He can be a streaky shooter who can get hot from 3. Schroeder's not a consistent shooter, which partially lies the problem. Marcus Smart, not a really consistent shooter. Grant Williams, he's kind of got that PJ Tucker corner jumper down a little bit, but anywhere else, again, also not a consistent shooter. So there's just not a lot of consistent shooting in general on this basketball team. But you're never going to expect this team to be a dynamic shooting performance team. They're not going to go out and start raining threes, but if they can just make the open ones and start shooting a respectable clip as opposed to something utterly terrible like sub 30, which they've done almost every game, it feels like sub 30% shooting from 3. if they can knock that up to 34 or so, even just making it a respectable margin, that'd be huge for this team, because right now it's only Tatum who's making threes, and that really only happened against the Mavs so far this season. He's struggled from out there.
Yeah, he's been
Brown's
rough.
the only other shooter who's been remotely consistent. That's something we'll talk about in the future for them to address as the trade deadline comes up, the desperate need for shooting.
Yeah, let's see if that happens.
At least for now, just making competent open shots is desperately necessary, and honestly would elevate the team a lot.
Yeah, it would be a big dub if we could do that, especially in these coming games, like you said. And I think where that hopefully will come from, like I mentioned before, is Neesmith, and I think Pritchard will fill in a little bit more now as well, which they can be really, really hot shooters. Pritchard's pretty consistently a good shooter. He just lacks in some other areas, but Neesmith, I mean, his college days, he was an amazing shooter, and he can get up to that standard. I think he beat a Tatum record earlier in the season at a practice for most consecutive made threes. I saw that earlier in the year. But yeah, no, I think we need to start making shots. It's got to happen at some point or another. We got the guys to do it. We do have a lot of streaky shooters, like we were talking about before. But I think they can piece it all together. Jaylen's going to be a big void, but we can definitely get through it. And the next 4 games, I think, will be a big showing to see what we can do. And another area, which it'll be a good test for us, which goes into my final thought, is the defense. The defense has been great. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, we led the Heat to 78 points, which is a well-structured, talented scoring and defensive team.
Top 2 currently in both of those categories.
They're
has only been done in the last 6 or 10 seasons rather, by that first Warriors iteration with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, exactly. And then we played solid against the Mavs as well. Good defense, but and Imo Udoka, he's impressed me with his schemes during the past couple of games as well. I thought he's had solid game plans that have led to a lot of turnovers, which has been good to see. And we got guys who are pretty good at scoring off of turnovers, especially Schroeder. Schroeder's pretty good at doing that. Tatum sometimes does his drive to the basket and throws up a layup off the backboard every once in a while. But I think the Raptors game, like we mentioned before, I don't think we're going to lose 2 games at home to the Raptors early on in the year. I don't see it happening. So that's a game that we're going to have to play really good defense, especially on Fred VanVleet. I think Scotty Barnes is back now too. He was out a couple of games, but he's been an impressive rookie. And then the Bucks game, that'll be tough. They haven't looked amazing, but that team is.
They've looked aggressively really okay,
good.
But we know what they're capable of.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see how we try to stop Giannis, even though he's virtually unstoppable, but at least contain him during that game. We'll have to see how that works out and who they put on him for a majority of the game. I think they'll probably switch it up a fair amount throughout that game. And then the 2 Cavs games, like we said earlier, Colin Sexton's out for a while, torn meniscus, which sucks. Also sucks for my fantasy basketball team. But Jared Allen just won Eastern Conference Player of the Week, I believe, too. So he's been outstanding this week. And it'll be interesting to see how we play against him. He's not so much of an offensive threat as a defensive threat down in the paint, but he's another great player. So we just got to keep the defense up, keep guarding guys really closely, forcing a lot of turnovers. I think turnovers are going to be the big aspect of it. And hopefully we don't have any triple team people like Luka hoisting up 3-pointers to beat us at the end of the game. Because that was perfect defense, honestly, by Richardson and the other guys who filled or came out to help on that play. But yeah, we just got to see how it goes during these next 4 games. It'll be an interesting weekend.
it'll definitely be an interesting week. We'll obviously monitor it and talk about it again next week. Luckily, Dan, I think we can both agree that I don't think that there is a Luka shot making capable player on any of those teams. Giannis, better player than Luka, but not a better shot maker.
Chris Middleton, that guy always torches us. I'm scared of him. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't think there's a guy who can hoist up a shot like that at the end of the game. I was confident that was going in too.
Like, I knew that. I saw that it was going to be Mavs ball with under 7 seconds, and I'm like, I've seen this movie a couple different times. Honestly, at this point with Luka, you can't stop that step back from being taken. He arcs it so dang high into the air.
Yeah, heartbreaker.
It was going in. It was just going in. You know, tip your cap. Well played. See them down the line. That's pretty much it. But
exactly.
That'll do it for this week's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe or comment down below if you agree, disagree, or just want to say what up to either of us, and we'll respond below. Have a good week. That'll do it for this week's Celtics Tube. Peace out.
Peace.